He's a very noted author and blogger, writing a book, and you may have seen his work online at ReadWriteWeb. And his name is Richard MacManus. So I'm going to invite Richard to come on up to the stage, and please give him a hand and welcome him to Antalya, Turkey.
Thanks, everyone. So I thought I'd just give you a bit of a history of ReadWriteWeb in case you're not aware of the blog and its history. The reason I thought this might be relevant is that when I started ReadWrite back in 2003, I was very much an outsider to Silicon Valley, but I found that they accepted me into the fold very quickly, and the networking through my blog was an important aspect of that. So that was ReadWriteWeb maybe a couple of years ago now, or in 2010, 2011. At the time I started the blog in 2003, it was always a blog that analysed the latest trends in technology. And back then, this was after the dot-com sort of boom and bust, so things were pretty quiet, but there was a lot of experimentation happening. So I found that the blog, ReadWriteWeb, was a good way for me to connect with entrepreneurs and figure out what was happening and what was coming next. So over the years, it evolved into very much a thinking person's tech blog, compared to, for example, TechCrunch or Mashable, which are much more news focused. ReadWriteWeb also covered the news, but we did so a little bit more in depth than the others. And at its peak, there was the main site, which was very consumer focused, and it became one of the top tech blogs, along with those blogs that I mentioned. And we had 6 B2B channels, for example, one for enterprise, one for mobile, and it was a mix of tech news, analysis, and resources. This is ReadWriteWeb now, and the reason it looks so different is that it has a new owner. I sold the site to a San Francisco media company called Say Media at the end of 2011. And Say Media changed the name of the site from ReadWriteWeb to ReadWrite in October 2012, and they also launched a new design at the same time. And also at that particular time, I found that was an opportune time to leave the site to do my next thing, which is writing a book. I'll mention a little bit about that soon. So the new editor of the site is Dan Lyons, and who some of you may know from the fake Steve Jobs persona. So just a bit about the history, because as I said, I think it's kind of relevant since I come from New Zealand, which is about as far away from Silicon Valley as you can get, I think. So back in 2003, it was very much the precursor of what became Web 2.0. So there was a lot of experimentation happening with blogging, software, and RSS. I guess 2005 was one of the first tipping points. That's when YouTube launched and became popular very quickly. News Corp acquired MySpace in that year. And that was the time that ReadWriteWeb started to become very popular in Silicon Valley and beyond. And that extended into 2006 when the trend known as Web 2.0 became extremely popular. And in 2007, that's when ReadWriteWeb really became a business, and I hired my first full-time writers. Up to that point, the writers had been part-time, myself, along with people such as Emre Sakolu, who was one of the very original writers for ReadWrite, based here in Turkey. And then, of course, in 2008, the mobile web took off, and Apple launched the App Store, and Twitter came along a little bit soon after that. So the ReadWriteWeb sort of progressed very organically, and it grew organically over time, until the point in 2011 when it was acquired by Say Media. Also, I should mention we ran a few events back in 2009, 2010. So the audience, likewise, it's a tale of organic growth over time. It started out very much targeting early adopters, entrepreneurs and developers, and that's because at that particular time, 2003, 2004, that was the audience that was interested in technology, news and analysis. But over time, as the web became much more popular and more mainstream, the audience for the site also grew. So it became much more of a consumer audience. Nowadays everybody uses technology, whether it's an iPhone or Android, or whether you're a power user. So ReadWrite very much expanded to meet that audience, and that was another reason for its growth over the years. So just a little bit more about me. As I said, I started it in 2003. At the time, I was just a web manager in New Zealand, so I had a full-time job. Not a lot of opportunities in New Zealand. Turkey is a much bigger country, and I've heard that the economy is growing very fast over here. But for me, ReadWriteWeb was a way for me to connect to people, particularly in Silicon Valley, because I was always interested in technology and never really had a way to explore it and express it in my own country. So I started the blog and very quickly started to network with people. The photo there is taken in Palo Alto in October 2005, and several of these people went on to make a name for themselves as well. Gabe Rivera, founder of TechMeme, Michael Arrington, TechCrunch founder, and a Portuguese web designer called Fred Oliveira. And Dave Weiner was one of my early influences. He's an early tech blogger, who some of you may know. So at the peak of ReadWrite, it was about 20 staff. All of them were in America, except for myself. But to take it to the next level and really scale the business, that's why I sold it to Same Media. And that's what they're doing right now. In fact, they've done the redesign. The office is now based in San Francisco, so ReadWrite is now very much an American company, even though it started from New Zealand. So as for myself, my next project is writing a book, and it's still in the technology field, but it's very focused on health technology, and in particular consumer health technology. I'm looking at things like health trackers and personal genomics, and the book will profile 12, 13 or more profiles, early adopters or entrepreneurs in that field. So, and the reason I decided to write a book is really a deep dive into a particular subject that's, I think, very important and growing very fast. And so if there are any health startups here at Startup Turkey, then do let me know. I'd love to meet you. And that's it. Thank you very much.